state for providing a conducive environment for core members to serve the nation in the state. Some core members who distinguished themselves during their service year were rewarded with certificate of commendation. All Progressive Congress has rejected the local government election conducted across 105 wards in Bayelsa State on Saturday by the State Independent Electoral Commission. The APC said the poll was also marred by irregularities in Sagbama and some hoodlums hijacked electoral materials meant for Ward 6, 7, 11, 13 and 14 in the area. Other than that, there was also voter apathy, voting materials and personnel of the Bayelsa State Independent Electoral Commission who arrived late in Yanegwa, Sagbama, Ekeremo, Kulukuma, Okbokuma, Obia, Nembe, Brass and Southern Ijo Council areas. In his reaction, Governor Duyederi described the poll as peaceful after casting his vote along with his wife, Gloria, at the Kalamabowari Unit 4, Ward 6 in Sampo Community, Kulukuma, Okbokuma local government area. They lauded the State Electoral Commission for the proper handling of the council poll and expressed optimism that his party, the People's Democratic Party, would win the election. Former President Goodluck Jonathan is urging the new administrator of the Presidential Amnesty Program, Dr. Dennis Otaro, to prioritize education in order to foster development in the Niger Delta region. Jonathan discloses in a statement while playing host TED Dr. Dennis Otaro during a consultative visit to him in Abuja. He said you need to focus attention on the education scholarship under the program to benefit more people in the region. Other than that, women empowerment is also important as part of the effort to deepen peace in the region. Also speaking, Otaro thanked the former president for his contribution to peace and development, not just in the Niger Delta region, but also the entire country, and assured Jonathan that the presidential amnesty program under his leadership would not deviate from the original plan to sustain peace and development in the Niger Delta region. Nigerian Army has dismissed the claims of favoritism towards soldiers of northern origin in the trial of erring personnel in Enugu State. 25 soldiers and an officer were court-martialed at the 82 Division of the Army for various offenses in October 2023, and there were allegations that 2 soldiers from the north being tried for murder had been freed and reabsorbed into service, while their counterparts from the south were being convicted. One of the soldiers alleged to have been favored was identified as T. Usan Shomva. And while reacting to the allegation in a statement, Director Army Public Relations Major General Onyema Nwachukwu accused those behind the allegation of trying to cause disunity. The statement said the Nigerian Army has noted the appalling misinformation being circulated by an online media platform that some allegedly aggrieved soldiers who were recently arraigned before a court-martial in 82 Division in Enugu expressed concern that there was a deliberate effort to convince soldiers of southern extradition, while those from northern Nigeria were allowed to go free. It also said the Nigerian Army wishes to clarify and unequivocally aver that the report is entirely bereft of any strand of truth and ultimately aimed at disparaging the current leadership using the instrumentality of ethnic and religious bigotry. Police in Lagos State have arrested a dismissed Nigerian naval officer for allegedly impersonating a serving military officer and assaulting resident. The unnamed suspect was said to have been apprehended while he and his boys were beating a hotel worker. The police in Lagos State said the suspect will soon be arraigned in court after investigations are concluded. All Progressive Congress APC says it will win the forthcoming general governorship election in Edo and Ondo State. The APC Deputy National Organizing Secretary Nzechi Diduru, who discloses other party's national secretariat in Abuja, assured the 16 candidates seeking APC's ticket for the Ondo State governorship election on November 16, 2024 of a fair, open and transparent primary election that will be conducted on April 20. He said Edo has become a test case and the party is resolute in determining through a process that is free who the candidate of the party would be, and felt they would need to go to court but have confidence that APC will win Ondo State. Tragedy struck in Ore, Odibo local government area of Ondo State when a truck crushed 2 people to death. Eyewitness said that the incident occurred along the Ore-Okitikpupa expressway in the Idi Mango area of the community, involving the truck and the motorcycle conveying the victims, who were said to be siblings. The source also said the accident was caused by the recklessness of the motorcycle rider on the road, explaining that the motorcycle rammed into the truck which was coming from the opposite direction, and the driver of the truck escaped from the scene for fear of being lynched. Reacting to the incident, the state sector commander of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Ezekiel Son Allah, who confirmed the incident, said the accident occurred as a result of wrong overtaking and speed limits violation. Kwara State government says violators of the ban on charcoal production in Kwara State will be sanctioned if courts end the act. The State Commissioner for Environment, Shehu Ndanusa Usman, who discloses, warned the charcoal producers to stop the illegal felling of trees and support the government in its efforts to eradicate deforestation to avoid the destruction of the climate. Ndanusa said the task force on charcoal will continue to move around the state to ascertain the level of compliance and impound vehicles transporting charcoal out of the state. He implored the task force and law enforcement agents not to arrest small cars such as buses and taxis transporting within the state for domestic use, but should rather confiscate their goods and lorries and report such culprits to the ministry appropriately for necessary actions. Danusa also enjoined the public to join hands with the present administration and the state in its efforts to eradicate deforestation and promote a clean and healthy environment in the state. 25 victims of an attack by bandits in Ago Jeju-Odo community in Omala local government area of Kogi State have been buried. The disease, which included 2 women and 4 children who were killed by armed men. The district head and Ochala Onuife Bagaji Odo Omala Chief David Akpa described the attack as barbaric and wicked, given the way the bandit unleashed mayhem on his people. Akpa also said the attack was the second in 2024 and had created fear among the residents. Special advisor on security to Governor Usman Ododo, Commander Jerry Omodara, retired, said the governor had ordered a thorough investigation of the incident. President of Mieti Allah, Kautal Hore Bello Budejo, has alleged that the governor of Nasarawa State, Abdullahi Sule, was behind the establishment of the ethnic militia group Kunjia Zaman Lafia. Budejo, who is facing terrorism charges, accused the governor of pressurizing him to form the militia group. The Mieti Allah leader was arrested by operatives of the Defense Intelligence Agency on January 23, 2024 at the group's office in Karo local government area of Nasarawa State for allegedly unveiling a militia group, and has been in custody and was arraigned before Justice Inyang Epo of the Federal High Court in Abuja on 3 counts of terrorism on March 22, 2024. Budejo was specifically accused of establishing the Kunjia Zaman Lafia ethnic militia in Nasarawa State without authorization, and the offense is punishable under Section 29 of the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022. He also alleged that the Nasarawa State governor was behind the formation of the militia group after he received a call from the governor earlier in the year expressing his desire to establish a vigilante group different from those of his counterparts. Other than that, he met with Akajo and Governor Sule at the Governor's Lodge in Abuja. Operatives of the Federal Capital Territory Police Command have arrested 85 suspects over various offenses committed in the nation's capital. A statement issued by the FCT Police Public Relations Officer Josephine Ade said the arrest was a sequel to a coordinated raid exercise in some identified black spots and criminal hideouts in Durumi and Day axis of the FCT. The suspects were arrested for offenses ranging from erecting illegal structures in shanties to the peddling of hard drugs and the manufacturing of counterfeit currencies. She said paper and coin counterfeit currencies both on the local and foreign light weapons, 8 motorcycles, 7 generators, gadgets and 7 ATM cards suspected to have been stolen from their victims were all recovered. The PPRO assured that all the suspects will be screened, stressing that those found culpable will be profiled and arraigned in court. Other than that, the illegal wooden structures erected by the hoodlums have been dismantled and set ablaze. The Commissioner of Police FCT, CP Bennett C. Igwe, wishes to reassure residents of his commitment to flush out criminals from FCT and ensure the safety of all citizens. Kaduna State Police Command has arrested a 9-man gang of suspected ritualists under the name of New Black Movement at a cemetery in Dusain Awa ward along the Zaria-Kaduna Expressway with 1 full jerry can of human blood. ASP Masur Hussaini, a public relations officer of the command, while making the confirmation on the arrest, explained that the arrest followed the tip-off after a source drew the attention of the service formation that some group of people were sighted at the said cemetery, which in turn say Locust Division was alerted. He said the suspected ritualists comprising the new and old members were apprehended while initiating the new members, saying the gang confessed to getting the human blood after slaughtering an aged man and disposing of his body along the Jaji military cantonment in neighboring Igabi local government area. The suspect also confessed that the man's vital body parts were dismembered but were taken away by another gang which came from Kaduna. ASP Masih Hussaini, public relations officer of the command, confirmed the arrest, explaining that investigations are ongoing. Agro Rangers of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps have resisted an attack by suspected bandits on the federal government grain silo in the Dosima local government area of Katsina State. The spokesman for the NSCDC, Mr. Buhari Hamisu, said in a statement in Katsina that the bandits wanted to destroy the silo and abduct its manager, Ms. Lawal Shitiyar Adwa, before the Agro Rangers responded swiftly and engaged the bandits in a fierce gun duel for over 2 hours. Hamisu said the NSCDC has had detailed more personnel to the location and increased the firepower of the operatives to prevent a recurrence of such an attack. Troops of the Nigerian Army have gone down over 11 armed bandits between Anka, Bagega Road and in Zamfara State. This is coming after the notorious bandit blocked the road to prevent road users from passing the axis and to kidnap people plying the road. While the army troops, on receiving a distress call, quickly mobilized to the scene and engaged the terrorists in a gun duel, forcing the criminals to flee into the forest. The army troops conducted 2 separate operations in Zamfara and Katsina State, which led to the clearing of roads blocked by terrorists to kidnap innocent people. While 1 AK-47 rifle, 2 AK-47 magazines, 5 rounds of 7.62 mm, special ammunition and more 1 motorcycle were recovered from the terrorists. The army also said its troops in a separate operations in Katsina State cleared several insurgents camp within Yar Malamai and Hamfudin general areas in Fasakari local government area, and 1 bandit was eliminated in the aftermath of a shootout. The troops also recovered 1 locally fabricated gun, 2 motorcycles and 6 mobile phones, among other items. One person is feared dead in a flood that wreaked havoc in Nguroji community in Sadwana local government council of Taraba state, while windstorm also destroyed several houses in Tankum local government council of the state. Apart from the victim who was killed in the flood, another person was reported missing with several houses destroyed. Pained by the disaster, the member representing the area in the State House of Assembly, Nelson Lenz, described the incident as unfortunate and the first of its kind in the area. Other than that, the construction of waterways in the community will go a long way to avert future occurrences. He said the disease has been identified as Goma Sadik, while measures have been put in place to rescue the missing person. Other members of the community who confirmed the incident are pleading with the state government and the Northeast Development Commission to extend olive branches to the victims. Leadership of the Federal University Ukari and Ukari Local Government Council of Taraba State has confirmed that the abductors of the 2 students of the institution and are demanding the sum of 50 million naira as ransom. The students who were last week abducted from a nearby restaurant have been identified as Joshua Sadwana and Obiano Elizabeth, confirming the kidnappers' demands. The head of Information and Protocol Unit at the university, Mrs. Ashu Abu, said the kidnappers who earlier demanded a ransom of 50 million naira have reduced their demands to the sum of 12 million naira. The kidnappers' intentions, according to Ashu, were to abduct the owner of the eatery, where one of the kidnapped students was working, but snatched the students when their target was not found. She said the kidnappers also notified of their intention to come back for the owner of the eatery. Other than that, the school authorities, in collaboration with the security operatives, are still working around the clock to ensure that the students regain their freedom from the abductors on hunt. Yobe State Command of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps says it has deployed 862 personnel to ensure a hitch-free Eid al-Fitr celebration in the state. The command's public relations officer Bala Garba, who disclosed this in Damatru, said the state commandant Adamu Zakari gave the directive for the deployment of the operatives across 17 local government areas of the state ahead of the Salah festival. He said they were instructed to be proactive and treat people with respect and dignity while discharging their duties, and urged them to report any suspicious movement of persons or objects to the nearest security agency. Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board says it has discovered candidate who chooses to get unhanded admission and will be made to face the consequences. JAMB said the caution should be made to stop the exercise in its entirety. JAMB said the admonition should rather be to stop the exercise in its entirety. Other than that, any candidate that chooses to get an underhand admission should face the consequences. Analyst says public office holders, including state governors, are chief servants to the people and must be accountable and transparent for the interests of the state and the mandate they represent. He frowned at the misappropriation of the 9 billion naira palliative and infrastructure development funds provided by the federal government to state governors across the country. Speaking on Atlantic Open Air, a public affairs analyst, Churchill Wali, said public office holders, including state governors, are chief servants as they represent the people's mandate of the leadership and must be accountable or be punished in cases of fraudulent activities.
Every leader is a servant, a chief servant. And as a chief servant, you are supposed to always do everything to inform your people that you are serving, and also that is when you go for an errand for them, whatsoever thing they give to you, you inform them and also do accordingly. But in this aspect now, the chief servants are now becoming the masters. They don't care about the people they are serving. They see themselves as being in control, and it's completely wrong. How will you tell me that out of 36, governors, that only one governor has said the truth. That means the other ones wants to keep it. If not that, that governor of Plateau State said that this kind of money has been sent to us. So, my people, you should see how the money is. See how I got this money, see how I got this money. And I also saying it clearly that it was sent to all of them. Nobody will hear this kind of.
Mr. Wali also called on the defaulted palliative governors to ensure they utilize the 9 billion naira palliative and infrastructure development funds provided by the federal government to ease purpose for the benefits of the people.
Should do the right thing by using that money for the purpose the president sent the money to them.
Okay.
Because there is high level of hunger in the country. And the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is fighting tooth and nail to see that the economy of Nigeria is being bettered, is trying to help the lives of people of Nigeria. But these people are, like I said it here last time, that the kind of leaders we are having now is leaders that is thinking on how to build houses abroad, how to take their children abroad, how to be buying food even from abroad.
This is coming after a leading anti-corruption body followed the money accused 35 state governors in the country of hiding the 9 billion naira palliative and infrastructure development funds provided by the federal government, saying that only Plateau State has been transparent on the money utilization. World Health Organization says the looming diseases may cause disasters of death and disability. The organization said this in its message to commemorate the 2024 World Health Day. The World Health Day is a global health awareness day celebrated every year on April 7 to provide an opportunity to focus world attention on a health problem or issue that deserves special attention. It also said its Council on the Economies of Health for All has found that at least 140 countries recognize health as a human right in their constitution, while countries are not passing and putting into practice laws to ensure their populations are entitled to access health services. The organization also tasked the government to tax tobacco, sugar and alcohol, eliminate trans fats, reduce amount of antimicrobials in the food system by 30 to 50% by 2030, stop fossil fuel subsidies, and subsidize or exempt tax of clean energy and fuels such as solar, hydro and wind-based electricity, and prohibit all forms of discrimination. It urged the government to build up cycling infrastructure, support pedestrianization, ensure decent work, worker rights and protections, and create fair, equal, and gender-responsive working conditions for health and care workers, ensure access to social protection to reduce household vulnerability to poverty and counteract the negative impact of unexpected life events on income, wealth, and health. Analyst says he is not happy with the unstable trend following the prosecution of the former CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, with charges bordering on money laundering and possession of illegal firearms. Speaking on Atlantic Television, a political analyst, Asim Adam, said the inconsistencies involved in the judgment and prosecution of the former CBN governor, if not properly handled, could lead to injustice.
To his house and they saw a pump action. They said he was positioning firearms. We were thinking the trial will begin, but once they went to court and arraigned him, they came back again. This rigmarole has been on now, going to year plus. Do you know why they do this? Because our laws capriciously and surreptitiously has given leeways to security agencies and agents to torture Nigerians using the instrumentality of the law. Number one, under our elementary laws in Nigeria here, the security agencies or those who are prosecuting can amend their charges at any time before judgment. So which means if a man is charged to court and they find that as the matter is going on, the man has escape route he will use to defend himself, they go and say they bring fresh charges because the law allows them to amend their charges at any time before judgment.
Enawaji Frank Ogwonono described the measures taken by government over Emefiele's issues as witch hunting.
To go what we call witch hunting. But if you have a case against Emefiele, why not use legal means? And the agency is not doing what Nigerians are expecting it to do. I will say it here. It's like the agency only goes out when people in government say go out. They don't go out based on what Nigeria will say credible information against a certain corrupt individuals, whether politicians or business.
It should be recorded that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission recently has filed a fresh 26-count charge bordering on abuse of office and corruption against the immediate former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele. This is coming after President Bola Tinubu formally announced the completion of a special investigation into the activities of the Central Bank of Nigeria and other related entities by the special investigator, Jim Obazi. Northern Elders Forum has described as uncertain and unjustified the removal of Executive Secretary of the Nigeria Christian Pilgrimage Commission, Reverend Yakubu Pam. This is coming after President Bola Tinubu had in January sacked Pam and appointed the Bishop of the Diocese of Ikeja, Methodist Church Nigeria, and Chairman, Christian Association of Nigeria, Lagos State Chapter, Dr. Stephen Ade White, as the new Executive Secretary. The President also approved the appointment of 9 Nigerians to serve on the NCPC board, with Colonel Aluche Adole as the chairman, a decision which attracted controversy. While the ex-NCPC boss was appointed on July 4, 2020 by President Muhammad Buhari and spent 3 years in office before his removal. A statement signed by its Director of Publicity and Advocacy, Abdulaziz Suleiman, said Pam's removal did not follow due process and the removal lacked of transparency and accountability, as Pam was not allowed to complete his tenure. Retired soldiers have advised the federal government to be careful with its decision to rehabilitate and reintegrate some independent terrorists who have gone through the government radicalization program, Operation Safe Corridor. The OSC, which began under former President Muhammad Buhari, has run for several years, and no fewer than 4,000 ex-Boko Haram members go through the program. The ex-soldier said in Gombe State alone, no fewer than 2,168 ex-Boko Haram members passed through the de-radicalization, rehabilitation, and reintegration camp at the Kwame local government area of Gombe State in the last 8 years. While in January 2023, 613 rehabilitated terrorists undergoing de-radicalization and we are scheduled to be handed over by the military authorities and handed over to their respective state governors. Also speaking, a former director of the Department of State Services, Mr. Mike Jofo, said the rehabilitation program seemed not well thought out and ill-timed. Nigerian governors says the decision of the remaining 20 states governors on the proposed establishment of state police are expected to be submitted within the next 4 weeks. Director General of the Nigeria Governors Forum, Shishana Okaru, who discloses 16 state governors had earlier thrown their weight behind the establishment of state police as a panacea for the insecurity ravaging the different parts of the country. The senior special assistant to the Vice President of Media Communication, Stanley Wokocha, had earlier disclosed in a statement that said The discussions were held at a meeting of the National Economic Council, and that 16 out of 36 states had already submitted their report on the state policing initiative, and NEC received the report from the 16 governors at its 140th meeting held at the Aso Rock Villa on March 21, 2024. Nkocha said there was an expectation that the remaining 20 governors whose identities were not disclosed would also submit their reports, stressing that all the states across the country expressed their support for the establishment of the state police. Meanwhile, the 2014 National Political Reform Conference had recommended devolving policing by allowing states to create their police and enabling community policing. Leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress says it will unseat Julius Abure as national chairman of the Labour Party. The NLC spokesman Benson Ukba said that despite the illegal national convention that returned Abure to office, the union would never confer legitimacy or give recognition to his leadership. The development is coming at a time when a group of retired workers under the aegis of Lagos Assembly of Labour Veterans and Trade Unionists also called for the resignation of the embattled national chairman of the party and the NLC President Joe Ajaero over their contentious leadership struggle. The party's presidential candidate Peter Obi also seems to be at loggerheads with the leadership of the party over the manner it conducted the convention in Nnewi, Anambra State, despite his plea for wider consultation, and had expressed his frustrations at an ex-hand formerly Twitter speaks section organized by Para-Efat. While explaining his absence at the national convention that got Julius Abure re-elected as the party's national chairman, Obi told his audience that he didn't attend the event because the party's leadership failed to heed his appeal for wider consultation with relevant stakeholders before the exercise. Federal government has declared Tuesday and Wednesday, April 9 and 10, 2024 as public holidays to mark the Eid al-Fitr celebration. The Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, who disclosed this in a statement on Sunday by the Ministry's Permanent Secretary, Aishatu Ndayako, congratulated all Muslims for the successful completion of the fasting in the holy month of Ramadan. Tunji-Ojo called on them to imbibe and practice the virtues that entail kindness, love, tolerance, peace, good neighborliness, and compassiousness, exemplified by the Holy Prophet Muhammad. He urged Nigerians to continue in the spirit of unity in order to improve and achieve peace and oneness in the country. You are watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We will be back after this short break.
To the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring almost news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. On 18.
We're glad to have you back. This is the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. Now the rest of our stories. President Bola Tinubu will depart Abuja for Lagos today ahead of the Eid al-Fitr later in the week. A statement from the President's Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, in the deference to the solemn occasion which marks the end of Ramadan, the President will observe the moment in prayers for Nigeria and with family. Ngelale, who did not specify the date of Tinubu's return, said the Nigerian leader will continue official duties during and after the Eid al-Fitr holidays. Spokesperson for the Senate, Yemi Adaramodu, says only the upper legislative body has a right to decide on the suspension of one of its members, Abdul Ninge, representing PDP in Bauchi State Central. Ninge was suspended by the Senate for alleging that the National Assembly padded the 2024 renewed whole budget with a total sum of 3.7 trillion naira. And the suspension came after a motion by Senator Adiola Solomon of the APC in Ogun State West moved against Ninge over a breach of privilege. 2 weeks into his suspension from the Senate, Ninge, through his lawyer Femi Falana son, wrote to the Senate President Godswill Akpabio demanding his restatement into the Red Chamber and also threatened a lawsuit against the presiding officer, while described Ninge's suspension as a breach of Section 111 of the Constitution and Article 13 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights Act. However, responding to whether Ninge had been reinstated, the Senate spokesperson said only the Senate has a statutory power to reinstate Ninge. Other than that, the Senate is currently on recess and no decision can be taken while the Senate is still on break. Socio-economic rights and accountability project has dragged the Senate President Godswill Akpabio to court over the failure to refer the alleged 3.7 trillion naira budget pardon to appropriate anti-corruption agencies for investigation and prosecution, and to recall Senator Abdul Ninge, who blew the whistle on the allegations. The suit, which was filed at the Federal High Court Abuja by Serap's lawyers, Kola Wale Oluwadare, in a statement issued by said organization, sued Akpabio for himself and on behalf of all members of Nigeria's Senate. The suit said it is in the public interest and the interest of justice to grant this application. Other than that, an order of mandamus to direct and compel Mr. Akpabio to refer the alleged 3.7 trillion naira budget pardon to appropriate anti-corruption agencies for investigation and prosecution of suspected perpetrators has been established. The organization also said granting this application would serve the public interest, encourage whistleblowers to speak up, improve public services, and ensure transparency and accountability in the management of public resources. Akpabio's counsel Ume Kalu-san said the decision and resolution to suspend Ninge was that of the Senate sitting in plenary and not that of his client Akpabio, stressing that the suspension of Senator Ninge by the Senate followed a seriously flawed process and it amounts to retaliation. Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission under Phase 5 of its ongoing tracking of constituency projects embarked upon by the federal lawmaker says that 50 contractors, consultants and staff members of ministries, departments and agencies of the government are being investigated in the Phase 5 tracking report shared by the Anti-Graft Agency on its verified X account. The ICPC said the exercise was carried out to investigate fraudulent procurement processes and the award of contracts for the zonal intervention project, otherwise known as constituency projects, executed under the 2019, 2020 and 2021 budget years during the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari. According to the agency, about 200 banks' accounts used for illegal deals on the projects were also frozen, while over 5.6 billion naira was recovered as cumulative savings for the federal government during the exercise. While in 2019, the agency initiated the tracking based upon the dissatisfaction of Nigerians with the delivery of the ZIBs, in respect of which a minimum of 100 billion naira had been budgeted since the year 2000. Meanwhile, out of the 5.62 billion naira cumulative savings discovered in the report, 529.6 million naira was cash recoveries, while 1.55 billion naira was the value of recoveries in assets, and 3.54 billion naira was for the value of projects on which contractors returned to site for work completion. According to the report, the contract value of the tracked project was 29.94 billion naira, but it was a sum of 25.17 billion naira that was said to have been paid to the various contractors handling the tracked project as of the time of this report. Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dr. Dele Alaki, says the federal government is ready to support mining companies that place a premium on local content in their operations. Speaking during a site tour of the Segilola Resources Operating Limited, an indigenous gold mining company in Ilesha, Osun State, the minister lauded the extensive work that has gone into the facility, expressing delight that over 95% of his staff are Nigerians, and urged other operators to take a cue from them. He advised the mining companies to emulate the international best practices of the Segilola Gold Project to develop the sector and commend the high Nigerian component of the product. A statement signed by the Minister's Special Assistant on Media in Abuja. The minister also praised the company's tenacity and purpose and efficient methods deployed to push through with its vision, despite daunting challenges, and exceptions, stressing that its focus has been to redirect local and international attention to the mining sector. Alake also said the implementation of his 7-point agenda is to reposition the mining sector and express the commitment of the federal government to support mining companies that place a premium on local content in their operations. Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission says unless electricity consumers are metered by electricity distribution companies, DISCO's implementation of the new tariff hike will cause dissatisfaction. Adamu Abdullahi, the acting executive vice chairman who disclosed this in a statement, said the 200 million sanction imposed on Abuja Electricity Distribution Company by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission for wrongly billing customers comes on the backdrop of the recent tariff hike for electricity customers and the Band A getting at least 20 hours of power supplies. The Commission urged NEC to mandate DISCOs to provide meters for all customers under Band A within 60 days to address the fears of arbitrary billings. Other than that, customers under Band A, C, D, and E getting 16 hours of power supplies and below should not be migrated by DISCOs to Band A without being metered. It also reaffirmed its commitment to protecting consumer interests and ensuring equitable practices within Nigeria's electricity sector, stressing that out of the 12 million electricity customers, only 5.7 million are metered according to NEC's data. Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission has directed power distribution companies to refund all overbilled Band A customers by April 11. This directive to the electricity distribution companies on implementation of the April 2024 supplementary multi-year tariff order came amid complaints from customers not on Band A who are now being made to pay 225 kilowatts for electricity. Federal government said it would no longer pay subsidy on electricity consumed by Band A customers, but others would continue to pay the old rate. Other than that, DISCOs upgraded their payment platforms for customers on Band B, C, D, and E, while they were made to pay 225 kilowatts instead of old tariff. On this development, the NEC said it had directed all electricity distribution companies to refund the affected customers and also required to immediately post on their website the schedule of approved Band A feeders that have been affected by the rate review. You are still watching the Atlantic Television News. Up next is an international tidbit. Rwanda's president says the international community failed the people of Rwanda as it marked 30 years since 1994 genocide that killed around 800,000 people. President Paul Kagame, who disclosed this while addressing dignitaries and world leaders who gathered in Rwanda's capital Kigali to commemorate the bloodshed, said Rwanda was completely humbled by the magnitude of the loss. He said on this day in 1994, extremists from the Hutu ethnic group launched a 100-day killing spree in which members of the Tutsi minority and Hutu moderate were slaughtered. Other than that, the Tutsi forces who took power following the genocide were alleged to have killed thousands of Hutu people in Rwanda in retaliation. In speech later, Kagame thanked fellow African countries including Uganda, Ethiopia and Tanzania for their assistance in ending the genocide, stressing that many of the countries represented here also sent their sons and daughters to serve as peacekeepers in Rwanda. According to Rwanda, hundreds of suspects remain at large, including in neighboring nations such as the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda, while President Kagame had been held for transforming the tiny, devastated country he took over through policies which encourage rapid economic growth. Chelsea legend Frank Lampard is on the shortlist to become the new head coach of the Canada national team. Lampard has been out of the work since last summer following his stint as interim coach of the Blues and is waiting for the right offer to come along, but it is not known if a job overseas would appeal to him. Canada has shortlisted Lampard as their search continues for a manager who will lead the team to the 2026 World Cup, and it is a huge tournament for the country that will be co-hosting alongside the USA and Mexico. Mauro Bello is currently Canada's interim head coach, having been assistant to John Hedman, who held the job from 2018 to 2023 when he resigned to take charge of Toronto FC. Former Liverpool striker Daniel Sturridge is back in the Reds to win the Premier League title this season ahead of Arsenal and Manchester City. Jogging club's men can go back to top on Sunday with a win at Manchester United and ahead of the game. Arsenal lead the way with 71 points, one more than Liverpool and City. Club guided the Anfield side to their first leg title in 30 years in 2020 and will hope to mark his final season at Anfield with another Premier League trophy. Now the entertainment news, a controversial singer Olawale Oloforo, popularly known as Brian, says he will never sign with the record labels of any of his colleagues Wizkid, Davido or Burna Boy. Despite Wizkid, Davido and Burna Boy being regarded as the biggest names in Afrobeat, Brimo said he would rather go to hell than sign with any of their labels. The Ara Corona featured as a guest in the latest episode of the Bay You Barbie show. Curiosity made me ask. And that was it on the Globe tonight, the Global News tonight. Before we go, let's take a quick look at the major headlines. NDDC promises to support farmers to promote employment. Police now brutalize with gallon of human blood in Kaduna. President Tinubu plans to observe Eid al-Fitr in Lagos. Government plans support for mining firms' local content. President Kagame decries sad event in 1994 Rwanda genocide. We also brought you the news that Lampard plans to get managerial job in Canada. Brimo rejects signing record labels with Wizkid others. And that's it on the news. I am Angel Okoma, Angelic Angel. I am thanking you so very much for watching. You can follow us on our social media handle and platforms on Twitter. We also have Atlantic TV Net and on Facebook and on YouTube. We have Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram, Atlantic Network. Peace and unity are the pathways to progress. And from me, do have a wonderful night rest. Good night.